Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Alhamdulillah, now, so we'll start the grammar portion of today's lesson. Before we start, let's start with our dua. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. As we always start with our classes, the verse from Surah Taha. Let's also take a deep breath. Shake out your hands, do what you have to do, inshallah. And we'll start with a dua as well. Rabbi zidni ilma. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase in us our understanding, inshallah, of the Quran and everything that we're doing. Inshallah, in today's lesson, we're going to be going over the fa'al, the verb, and the specific tenses. We're going to be looking at the amr or the nahi, which is the command form or the negative command. And inshallah, we're going to be going over 4 examples, which is going to be idrib, isma', i'lam, and i'mal, inshallah. As we always do in our classes, we're going to be learning grammar through TPI, which is total physical interaction. What is TPI? Well, I'm sure you all remember is that we use all of our senses. We hear it with our ears, we see it with our eyes, we think about it with our brains, we say it with our mouths, we show it with our hands, feel it with our hearts, and then we do it together as a group. Inshallah, for all of you that are at home, a quick suggestion, please encourage one another to do it TPI. Correct one another if you see that something is not being done correctly, and encourage one another to do this. Inshallah, it helps with our retention and helps us in getting closer to the Quran and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Similarly, if you're doing this at home individually by yourself, please don't be shy, do it. Know that we're all doing this together as well as a group. We'll start as we do with a revision of our previous classes, just as a reminder, inshallah, just to re-jog your memory of how we take this course. As a quick reminder, the Arabic language, words typically come in 3 forms or 3 types. We have the ism or the nouns. You can see in the circle on the top left, we talked about having a common or a particular noun. So we could say car versus the car, a specific one. And if we were talking about a specific, we add the letters L for the. And you see the tanweens or the punctuation where it's dammatin, fathatin, kasratin, the 2. That's if it's a singular. And if you want to go to a plural, where we use 4 fingers, we'd add the waw noon, ya noon, or alif ta, depending on the context and the gender. Then we talked about the verbs or a fa'al, and the 3rd type, which is a harf or a particle, which essentially joins verbs and nouns together. We've been focusing on the verbs or the fa'als for some time now because there's a lot of them in the Quran, and they're the commands, and their actions, things that either we've been told to do or things we said that will happen, or learning about the stories of from the actions that people have done previously. Now, in Arabic, verbs are typically made up of 3 letters, or what we call root letters, and they follow 4 different patterns. And by the patterns, we mean that when you go from one tense, the madi, mudari, amar, the punctuation follows 4 different patterns, which is fa'ala, fataha, nasara, and daraba. We've gone over them in previous classes, but we're going to always go back and really put into context how each one of those 3 tenses, madi, mudari, or amar form, the command, how they fit into these 4 different categories. Now, we said that the verbs come in 3 different types. The madi, something that's already happened, it's done in the past, there's no ifs and or buts about it. There's the mudari, something's happening now or will happen in the future. Remember, it's like the imperfect tense in English. And the amr, or the command form, where you're forcefully being told to do something. Or the nahi, which is a negative command. You're forcefully being told not to do something. Now, quick reminder, we went over nasara, which was to help. And the command, or the amr form was unsur, right? So unsur was to help. Unsuru was to help all of you. When we're looking at a plural, watch the fingers. And when we did the nahi, or the negative form, remember we said that you, instead of going vertical, up and down, when you're being told to do something, you go across. You start from your left, and you're going across. So la tansur, don't help. La tansuru, don't help all of you. We're going in a plural. We also did the amr form for the verb dhakara, which is to remember. And we said udhkur is to remember. Udhkuru is to remember you all. And similarly, the nahi or the negative command, going left to right, la tadhkur, don't remember. La tadhkuru, don't remember you all. We saw this come in the Quran almost 50 times. We also went over the word for abada, or to worship. And remember, in the last class, Brother Nasser went over Surah Al-Kafirun, which is a great example if you really want to really brush up your skills and really get a very good understanding, good command of this. My personal recommendation is to go for the word translation of that surah. It really helps cement your understanding of how the tenses change and what they mean. So remember, it was abada, and the amr form was u'bud, worship, or u'budu, worship you all. La ta'bud, don't worship. La ta'budu, don't worship you all. And we also went over the word for khalaqa, which is to create, and we said the amr form was ukhluq, ukhluqu, or create, create you all. La takhluq, do not create, and la takhluqu, don't create you all. We also said that we didn't go over this for in spoken English because na'udhu billah, the command of creation is only reserved for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So alhamdulillah, that's our quick revision. In today's class, we said we're going to go over 4 words, and the first of those is daraba. Now, remember, just a quick reminder on the format you're seeing on the screen, there's 3 columns for the 3 different types of tenses. Remember we talked about madi, or the past tense, which is your right-hand side. So it's, excuse me, remember if it's madi, your hand's down here, we're on the masculine side, so it's on the right. So it's daraba, darabu, he hit, they hit. And remember, ta'tu, tumna. So it's darabta, you hit, darabtu, I hit, darabtum, you all hit, darabna, we hit. So that's the madi tense. And in the middle, you have the mudari. Something's happening now or will happen in the future, your imperfect tense. So remember, the hand, similar to madi, except now we're going up because this could happen in the future. So it's yadribu, yadribuna, he hits or will hit, and they hit or will hit. Tadribu, adribu, you hit, I hit. Tadribuna, nadribu, you all hit or we hit. Now the amr form here is idrib, to hit, and idribu, hit you all. And the nahi, or the negative command, is going from left to right. La tadrib, don't hit. La tadribu, don't hit you all. Now alhamdulillah, we just went over this right now. We're going to go over a quick reminder on just the amr form, just not to beat a dead horse because we've already gone over the madi and the mudari terms. With Nasser Bhai's help, I think we'll just go over these ones with TPI. So if we were to say, I'll start with the Arabic, and Nasser Bhai will just repeat again with the English, inshallah. Where we say the word idrib,
hit,
hit, idribu,
hit you all.
and la tadrib,
don't hit.
La tadribu,
don't hit all of you.
Jazakallah khair. So that's come in the Quran a dozen times. And with this example, let's add in a little bit of spoken Arabic so we can actually use this. So if you're being told or commanded to hit, and you're being told adrib, the answer here would be
Sawfa adribu.
Sawfa adribu, soon I will hit. And how about adribu, all of you hit.
Sawfa nadribu, soon we will all hit.
Jazakallah khair. Now what are we going to hit? Remember in our last examples, we always had our imaginary friend Zaid. Let's not bring him in for this example. Poor guy shouldn't get hit all the time. Let's add in an object for al-kura. Now al, remember, is the. We said a particular verb, sorry, a particular noun. And kura means ball. So that's a good thing to hit, right? When we're playing a game. So now let's add in idribul kura. Hit the ball.
Sawfa adribul kura. Soon I will hit the ball.
Jazakallah khair. Now it's the whole group. It's a whole football team that we're telling. Adribul kura. All of you hit the ball.
Sawfa nadribul kura. Soon we will hit the ball.
Jazakallah khair. Now alhamdulillah, that's our first example already done. So you can see we're going through this pretty quick. It's the same fundamentals, the same principle, rinse and repeat over and over. And that's one of the points of the course, right? Is that you learn a few of these principles and then adding on, going from 1 word to 10 to 100, it takes minimal effort once we understand the key principles. So alhamdulillah, same thing with sami'a. You see on the right hand side is the madi tense where we said sami'a, sami'u, he listens, they listen. Remember, ta'tu, tumna, sami'ta, sami'tu, you listened, I listened, sami'tum, sami'na, you all listened, we listen. The mudari' tense, hand goes up. يسمع يسمعون, he listens or they listened. تسمع أسمع, you listen, I listen. تسمعون and نسمع, you listen, we listen. You all listen, sorry, and we listen. And now we're adding in the amr or the command form. Now you can see this command to listen is isma'. And if you're talking to a group, it's isma'u. If you're saying the nahi or the negative command, it's la tasma', don't listen, and la tasma'u, don't listen, you all. Imagine if you're telling someone to listen to goodness, you'd say isma', and if you're telling someone not to listen to something that's bad for them, then you say la tasma'. Now an example here, and again with Nasr Bhai's help, I'll go back with this. So in the Arabic, if I were to say isma',
Listen.
listen, isma'u,
Listen, all of you.
la tasma'.
Don't listen.
And lastly, la tasma'u.
Don't listen, all of you.
Jazakallah khair. Now, our example here with the spoken Arabic is if we were to say, again, if someone's telling you, listen, isma'.
سوف أسمع. Yes, soon I will listen.
Jazakallah. And if we're talking to a group, you want to get their attention. It's isma'u. Listen, you all.
سوف نسمع. Soon we will listen.
Soon we will listen. Now, what will we listen to? Let's add in something good. And always start with good examples when we can. And let's add in Al-Quran. So what are we telling people to listen to? The Quran. So if I were to say, Isma' al-Quran, say, listen to the Quran.
سوف أسمع القرآن. Soon I listen to the Quran.
Jazakallah. And now to group as a whole. And we say, Isma'u al-Quran. All of you listen to the Quran.
سوف نسمع القرآن. Soon we will listen to the Quran.
Jazakallah khair. Alhamdulillah, so that's 2 of our 4 words already. And you can see we're going through this pretty quick. Now, the 3rd and 4th word, I'm going to go over a little bit faster because this is homework. And I'd like to leave a little bit for you to work on your own as well. So we've gone over the word alima before, which meant he knew. Alima, alimu, he knew, they knew. Remember, ta'tu, tumna. Amilta, amiltu, you knew, I knew. Amiltum, amilna, you all knew and we knew. And the mudari is ya'lamu, ya'lamuna, he knows, they know. Ta'lamu, a'lamu, you know and I know. Ta'lamuna, na'lamu, you all know and we know. Now remember, just a quick reminder, we talked about on the Madi words, the past tense, the end of the word is what's changing. And that's one way of identifying it. And on the mudari, it's something that's happening now or in the future. The beginning of the word is what's changing. So just be mindful of that, a quick reminder. Moving on to the amr or the command form, it's i'lam, to know. And you're telling someone, no, i'lam. If you're telling a group, i'lamu. Now, if you don't want someone to know something, it's not good, it's not beneficial for them to know something, say, la ta'lam, don't know. La ta'lamu, don't know, all of you, or you all. Quick things with Nasr Bhai, just inshallah, so that this stays in your memory while you're going over a revision. If we were to go in Arabic and say, i'lam.
No.
I'lamu.
Know, all of you.
La ta'lam.
Don't know.
La ta'lamu.
Don't know, all of you.
Jazakallah. You can see that's been in the Quran over 30 times. Now the next word for homework is amila. Remember we've gone over this before. Similarly, which means he did. Amila, he did. Amila, amilu, he did and they did. Ta'tu, tumna. Amilta, you did. Amiltu, I did. Amiltum, you all did. Amilna, we did. Now the mudari, hand goes up. Ya'lamu, ya'lamuna. He does and they do. Ta'lamu, a'lamu, you do and I do. Ta'lamuna and na'mal, you all do and we do. Now the amr form of the command of this is i'mal, to do, and i'malu, to do, all of you. That's inshallah you're commanding someone to do something good. And la ta'mal, don't do, and la ta'malu, don't do, you all. Inshallah you're telling them to refrain from something that's bad for them. So as a quick reminder, inshallah, you might be able to just remember Nasr Bhai's voice when you're going over your revision. Hopefully that helps with a little bit of retention. So if I were to say this in Arabic, the English translation would be for i'mal,
Do.
اعملوا.
Do all of you.
لا تعمل.
Don't do.
And lastly, لا تعملوا.
Don't do all of you.
Jazakallah khair. You can see it's come just under a dozen times. Now, alhamdulillah, here's a quick little revision for you as well, where we went over remember the 4 different patterns of the verbs for fa'ala, and we'll go over the rest of them as well. So you have the madi, mudari, and the amr terms in the middle. I won't go over them, but this is the main point that we're getting into, is the 4 styles of the verbs that we've gone through so far, where we talked about fataha, nasara, daraba, and sami'a. And when we say about the 4 styles, we talk about how the punctuation changes from madi, mudari to amr, where you see the fathas and the dammas and the kasras, they change from transitioning from one form to the next. Where fataha, yaftahu, iftah. Now it's nasara, yansuru. You see how the fatha turned into a damma? Yansuru and unsur. And daraba, yadribu. We've gone from a fatha for fataha to a kasra for yadribu, and idrib. Again, you see how the punctuation is changing. And the last style is sami'a, yasma'u, and isma'. Now, do we know any of these? Can we associate any of the different words with these styles? Yes, we can. We've gone over quite a few. So for fataha, we know that the words we've gone over that follow the same pattern are fa'ala, which we just said, he did. Ja'ala, he makes. Nasara, we've gone over khalaqa, dhakara, abada, all the ones we did in the last class. They all follow the same styles as nasra. Now, daraba, which we went over today, there's another word that we're going to go over. We haven't done yet, but it follows the same style, which is ghafara. And it'll turn from ghafara, yaghfiru, ighfir. Inshallah, we'll do that in some of our upcoming classes. And the last type of pattern is sami'a. And we've gone over the words today that follow this pattern, which is alima and amila. So subhanAllah, in just a very short period of time, we've already gone over the 4 different styles of verbs, which capture all the verbs, or majority of them that come through in the Quran. And here's a quick reminder. I would very, very highly encourage you to take a look at this slide or this picture or this table here whenever you get the chance, to really help with your revision when you're trying to solidify your understanding of the patterns. Now, a quick mnemonic to help you remember what the 4 different styles are, because remember the words are fataha, which means to open, nasara, which is to help or helped, daraba, which is he hit, and sami'a, which is he listened. Now, a quick mnemonic that might help you remember this. Remember we talked about an example of some of the key learning tips, which is learning with examples, because you retain information better. So a quick sentence to remember this could be fataha, nasara, daraba, sami'a. It could be, if you open the Quran, open, fataha, Allah will help you, nasara. Otherwise, you will be hit, daraba. You're going to be hit if you don't get Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's help. Of course, you're in deficit. Therefore, listen, sami'a. So, fataha, nasara, daraba, sami'a turns into, if you open the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help you. Otherwise, you'll be hit. Therefore, listen. It's a quick mnemonic. Think about it and repeat it. Inshallah, you commit that to memory, and you'll remember these things. So as we're wrapping up today's class, inshallah, a quick learning tip for this week, as we always do, and one of the secrets is, a great secret to memorization is to learn the words with examples. Alhamdulillah, you would have seen that we're taking this course from the salah, from things we're already doing that we already know, and you find that it helps a lot with memorization. If you know your examples, you can memorize them much faster because you already know, you can memorize the meanings much faster because you already know the words. You can recall the meanings much faster, again, because you know the words. And you won't get confused some of the words with other words because you know them very distinctly from your examples. Now, I was saying from this course, we've done it all with salah, something we already, alhamdulillah, and inshallah, we all do very frequently in our days, at least 5 times with our fard. Inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the ability to do it at least 5 times a day for those that are not, and for those that are, to expand it even more, inshallah. Ameen. Please say ameen, everyone. So let's use these examples that are familiar with us. They're simple, they're familiar, they help with recall. They add that emotional and spiritual attachment with it, which is the khushu' that we want to get, and the feeling of contentment and closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. and it's something that we repeatedly use. So again, it helps with repetition. So an example here is that remember each and every word that we use in our salahs. If you don't recall the meaning of a particular word reading the Quran, then try to recall the complete ayat or the dhikr. So sometimes if you're looking for the word en, for example, you may not remember the exact meaning, but you remember the kalma, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. And then you remember, oh, okay, fine. So I bear witness that there is no God but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it helps with that retention. Now, alhamdulillah, that's the end of our lesson today. That's 17 lessons. And so far, we've learned 208 individual unique words, subhanAllah, which occur in the Quran just under 40,000 times, 39,500 times, subhanAllah, in the Quran. Alhamdulillah, this is just to put into context the great strides that we've all made in a very short period of time. Going back to the earlier classes where since I've talked about the ayats from the Quran, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says it's not hard to learn the Quran. Don't say it's hard. He's made it easy for us. Subhanallah, and in a very short period of time, we've learned so many words that cover more than half of the Quran. So alhamdulillah. A quick tip we're always going to keep bringing up, please remember to use a vocabulary sheet. I can't overemphasize just how good it is for revision and for committing this information to your mind. And our last tip, as always, is be a teacher. The best way to learn is to teach. Proof positive here. Every class that I give, I learn more. Take the presentations, start teaching them. It doesn't have to be formal, whether it's in the small groups we talked about with your friends, whether it's at home, whether it's to your kids, with your spouse or anyone else. There's lots of training that's available and lots of materials that are available as well. As we went over earlier as well, this is the خيركم من تعلم القرآن وعلمه. The best of you is the one who learned the Quran and teaches it. We'll wrap this up with our dua. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to recite, understand, ponder, implement, propagate, memorize the Quran. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka.